Megyn, how do you feel about Fani Willis? I'm going to quote because, I mean, she finally came out. She recognized it. She described herself yesterday as the face of the feminist movement and the face of women. She said, I feel more love. Actually, I've gotten a lot of support from women, and that kind of surprised me. I'll tell you this, especially with African-American women who will just come up to me and say, we're so proud. You're such a great representative of us. But I'd be lying to say it was only African-American women. I've had Caucasian women, Asian women, Indian women. I didn't think I was the face of the feminist movement, but somehow I've become it. Wow.
Oh, my God.
That is that's a...
just threw up a little in my mouth. I feel about Fani Willis the way I feel about Kamala Harris. These people cannot be feminist leaders or the face of female success because they're too dumb. It's too bad for womankind. We can't allow it. Kamala Harris cannot be the first female vice president or president, God forbid. And Fani Willis is not the face of womanhood. I mean, what does that mean? The face of womanhood is do a piss poor job of managing your money, wind up flat broke despite the fact that you have a law degree, decide to see the world anyway by stooping some guy who who's married to another woman and letting him take you all over the world on his dime and then lie about it under oath. She's not my representative, nor most women's.
So do you believe her that she's hearing that? I mean, I guess in small numbers, maybe, but there's no groundswell support for her, is there, that I'm missing?
You know what? You're only saying that because you don't hang out in hard left circles. I'm sure she is some sort of an icon to the people who absolutely hate Trump and think that Jack Smith is a hero and think that Letitia James is one and Alvin Bragg. And that's why they love Fani. They don't know anything about Fani. They just know that she's trying to get Trump. So they think the future of the republic hangs on this woman and that she needs to be elevated in the same way we need to ruin Ronna McDaniel, right? It's the opposite side of the same coin.
So I was talking to Andy McCarthy yesterday, and he said Fani Willis and Letitia James, both the way they have just gone after Donald Trump and Letitia James actually campaigning, saying, I'm going to get him, hire me, and I'm going to get him. He said 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have had a chance. Nobody in, the law industry, if you will, would have respected you at all. You wouldn't have gotten elected. We've changed.
It's so dangerous. All I can say is I go to bed at night sleeping comfortably for now because we have 6 conservatives on the U.S. Supreme Court for the first time that I can remember in my lifetime. And they're the last guard against this nonsense. They're there, and on the most egregious overreaches, they're going to correct things. They won't get involved in everything, but thank God we have them because the justice system, as everyone knows now, is being perverted by hard partisans who, unlike, maybe as recently as 10 years ago, feel no need to hide it. He's right. 20 years ago, prosecutors didn't even understand their job to have anything to do with politics. They understood they would get fired if they looked at justice through that lens. 10 years ago, I think they started doing it, but knew enough to try to hide it, that it would be considered bad form. And now they're running for office on it. So I've never seen such hard partisans in the prosecutorial decision since Mike Nifong in the Duke case, right? Somebody who's just completely subverting justice to advance their own interests. In his case, he wanted a higher pension, and he'd get it if he remained on as DA in a minority-majority district, and therefore he sided with the black fake accuser against the white innocent defendants on the lacrosse team. Well, that's Fani Willis. She loves being DA. She's running around telling everyone she's the greatest DA Fulton County's ever seen. And she's, as far as I can tell, not particularly talented. She's definitely not a very smart person. And yet she's paying somebody $10,000 a year to monitor her media references. That the taxpayers are footing that bill, by the way, because she wants to be a star. That's what Fani Willis wants. She wants you to see her as an icon of feminism, the one who got Trump, not who got justice. But let me tell you something, Glenn. her problems are just beginning. There's a very high likelihood that Fani Willis will be disciplined, including potentially up to disbarment, that some enterprising committee, whether it's the state Senate committee in Georgia or potentially the bar or someone beyond, is going to get their hands on the actual substantive texts between Fani and Nathan Wade, putting the lie to their on-stand testimony about when their affair began. And that's to say nothing of the case she has against Trump completely falling apart because there is no RICO violation here.
Well, we found out from another icon of women, another genius woman, AOC, that RICO isn't against the law. It's not a crime. It's an act.
Amazing. How do you grow up? Doesn't she want us to believe she grew up in the Bronx, which she didn't? She's from Yorktown Heights. It's totally different. But okay.
Really
I date a guy from Yorktown Heights. It's a lovely suburb. His dad is a New York City cop. They live there. It's not the Bronx. It's in Westchester. It's very different. In any event, how do you grow up in any of the 5 boroughs of New York and not understand what racketeering is? It's kind of like our favorite crime to bring against the mobsters. It's how we no longer have as active a mob as we used to. She knows very well that it is a crime, and it is something we use traditionally to get the mob, where you have multiple players working together to advance a criminal enterprise, which, as Andy McCarthy, who you mentioned, has said about the Trump defendants in the RICO case, seems like the only thing they've done together is get indicted.
Let me switch to another court case, the Letitia James case, seizing of Trump's assets. The bond was reduced from $464 million to $170 million, which everybody kind of celebrated with. Oh wow, it's good for. It's still $170 million, which is in a victimless crime. I don't understand.
It's completely outrageous. I mean, look, there's no arguing that it's better than 454. I guess if you're looking for your silver linings, you'd pick the latter, you'd pick the 170, whatever. But no, you're right. And look, I think Trump should be able to come up with this as opposed to the 450, which was scary and might have cost him a building or two, which is just so unjust. But it doesn't change much in the case. The injustice against him is patent to anyone who's not a hard left partisan. And what amazed me about yesterday, I couldn't believe it. I mean, sometimes the media still surprises me, was the outrage on the left about the, quote, special treatment Donald Trump was
I know.
from the appellate
I
court
read
in New
that.
York.
Oh, my gosh. I read that this morning. I thought, are you kidding me? You're saying there's a double standard for Donald Trump and it's in his favor? That's craziness.
Yes. Like, okay, Lawrence Tribe is a Harvard Law School professor. He's been there forever, and he's a committed leftist. He's come on my show. When I first launched my show, he came on, and we discussed, I think it was something around January 6th. I can't remember. But my point is, he wasn't such a lunatic that I said, oh, I don't really want to talk to this person, right? Like, when they're too far around the bend, I don't want to deal with them. He was leading the charge yesterday about the two-tier justice system in favor of Donald Trump. They're too far gone to save. And unfortunately, they're prosecutors and they're judges, and some of them are involved in these Trump cases, which is why I think we understand the fix is in. He's probably going to lose potentially across the board on all 4 of these criminal cases, and the 2 civil cases we've already seen, the E. Jean Carroll one go against him, and now this Engeron one has gone against him and is going up on appeal. And it's all been baked in. I think at this point, the only thing that's going to save Trump is the Supreme Court and us in November. Those are the 2 ways out of this for him, which is pretty ironic, Glenn, if you think about it, because what the Democrats want more than anything is for him to not be president again, to not run for president again, to skulk off into the darkness. And yet they've made it such that he must win in order to save his life, his company, his business, his freedom. He has no choice but to win. So he's going to fight harder than ever. I mean, it's kind of perfect.
What do you think of Jonathan Turley? I was saying earlier today, there's a couple of voices that I really trust when it comes to the law. One of them is yours, Alan Dershowitz, and Jonathan Turley. What do you think of him?
I love Turley. He's great. I used to put him on my show in the middle of the afternoon when nobody was watching, and he was a George Washington professor, and I went to visit him a couple times, and he's brilliant. What I love about Jonathan is he's got a way with them word things that not all real lawyers have. Some lawyers can do it in a courtroom or in a brief, but they can't do it on live TV. And he's great at it. I played a soundbite from him 2 weeks ago when the Fani Willis judge said, you got to choose. One of you is going, Fani or Nathan. You guys choose. And he said, it's as if you found two crooks in the bank vault and you only prosecuted one.
Right.
So anyway, I love him. He's trustworthy and he's fair. And I don't even think that Jonathan Turley is conservative. He's just extremely fair.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think he's a constitutional guy. Which can constitutional people, because if they're really based in the Constitution, it doesn't always fall in your favor. Sometimes because it's neutral, and sometimes we lose our way. Can I ask you, all of the stories that have come out today? There's one, I think, in Rolling Stone that talks about the structure that the left is building to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't cheat. I've always felt that whatever they say that we're doing, they're doing. And it's this amazing article about how they've got lawyers everywhere. They're lawyering up for any crazy thing because he's not going to steal this election. And their premise on why they're doing this is because they say he's lawyering up and he's going to try to steal the election. What are we facing in November? What are we facing?
My mom spent a year her lifetime as a psychiatric nurse at the Albany Veterans Hospital. And I believe they call this transference. So that's my psychiatric background for you. I think it's transference where, what they're doing here.
Yeah. Yes.
I do think this is their best chance of winning. I think they've got more money than the Republicans do. And most of Trump's money is going to have to go to his legal fees, which I have to be honest, I do also think that helps him. I also think that increases his chances of winning. People are so angry. I don't think it's a complete waste to flush the money down on legal expenses. But anyway, they've got more money. They are better organized. And I think they're dirtier and they're more afraid. They're definitely more afraid. I watched 27 minutes of Rachel Maddow last night, Glenn. 27. I don't think I've ever done that. I said to my team, is she always this dramatic? What is with the...
Oh, yeah.
She reminded me of Katie Britt. Take a deep breath, okay? Anyway, she was telegraphing 100%, as she has been for a while now, that Donald Trump is going to get in office, Glenn, and is never going to leave. That the references by Trump and others to an unfair 2020 election, forget whether you think it was quote stolen. I think most Republicans would agree on unfair and not entirely legit.
Yes.
That is all trying to dull the senses for the argument Trump will make when he's reelected that we can't have any more elections, that the system's crooked, and therefore we just have to keep him in there forevermore like a king, and that, the country would just go along with that because we're morons and we've had the senses dulled. Those are the stakes that the left sees on Trump's being elected right now. And so who would put anything past that group? We listen to Sam Harris say it pretty explicitly. I applaud him for his honesty. At least he's being clear about the way he feels. The left, most of these people are, reluctant to actually say that. But behind the scenes, what are they doing? I think whatever it takes.
God help us all. Megyn, thank you so much. We'll listen to you again right after my program on XM.